here. I risk everything. I leave everything behind. Salut.
Или потому что я сильная.
Die vielleicht einzig wahre Freiheit im Leben eines Menschen besteht darin, dass er sich dieses jederzeit nehmen kann. Nur der Tod ist wirklich frei.
Anwältin der Außenseiter bezeichnet die Schweiz als Gefängnis.
Immerhin steht es jetzt in der Zeitung. Staatsbeamte, die auf einen friedlichen Bürger einknüppeln. Wer aufmuckt, wird weggesperrt. Ich fände es ja total spannend, wenn wir uns mit euch deutschen Genossen austauschen könnten. Etwas mehr Kampfgeist täte uns gut. Seit ich sprechen kann, höre ich eigentlich immer nur, dass ich schon tot sei. Bin ich aber nicht.
Neuigkeiten vom Ausbrecherkönig.
Walter Stürm. Und wo steckt der Spinner?
Kennen wir uns?
Heberlein Max, Pudelcoiffeur.
Eitle Viecher, diese Pudel.
Ja, das stimmt. Fast wie die Anwälte.
Barbara! Und wer ist das? Wir können ihn ja beide haben.
Probefahrt gefällig, die Dame?
Nimmt man Stürm die Rebellenfassade, bleibt nichts außer ein kleines egoistisches Würstchen. Auch im Bett übrigens.
Wenn die mich jetzt schnappen, dann machen die mich fertig.
Salut, c'est encore moi.
Ich bin ein Peter Frank.
Salut,
Sie machen mich nicht zum Opfer.
comment tu vas? Baba, 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 baba.
Freiheit kann man nicht schenken.
Und für was hat's mein ganzes Leben lang gekämpft?
Freiheit ist das, was man sich nimmt.
Hi, good evening and good afternoon to Oliver. Welcome to another film talk session during the Europe on Screen Film Festival. I'm Aliansi, the festival co-director, and today, or rather this evening, I'm already joined by Oliver Rihs. He's the director of Caged Birds. Oliver, thank you so much. I understand that you are currently in the middle of production for your new series. So appreciate your brief time to speak with us. But before we really begin, I just want to address our audience. You can join us via Zoom or via YouTube channel of ours, and then you will be muted so that we can speak without any interruptions. However, if you have any questions, feel free to text your questions via the Q&A box at the right button of your screen. You can ask the question in English or in Indonesian. If it is in Indonesian, I'll help translate to English. So, Oliver,
hi.
First of all, yes, hi.
Good to be here.
Well, thank you for like I said, making the time, and I have to say it's such a powerful film, especially. Well, this is a biopic, of course, and we do not know much actually about these two compelling characters. However, there is not a moment in the film that we get bored, because their journey is so captivating. And this is an original film, as I understand that you do not based on a book or biography. So what made you interested in the story of Barbara Hu and Walter Sturm? How did you discover this story?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, Walter Sturm is an extremely famous character in the history of Switzerland, because it was maybe the only really heroic criminal we had that came from his breakouts of the prisons. Yeah, he broke out nearly 10 times, and he was on the run for half of his life in a super small country like Switzerland, which is unbelievable how he did it. So he was such an interesting chameleon character, and very strange, also criminal driven, because he never really had a straight plan. So in Switzerland in the 70s and in the 80s, when you had in the same time, you know, big brother Germany next to Switzerland, Germany had the RAF, you know, the radicals. They had Bader-Meinhof complex.
Yeah.
And the left wing in Switzerland was always a little bit jealous, because we didn't have these really powerful left-wing characters. So they took a little bit Walter Sturm as symbol for this, you know, kind of anarchistic, freedom searching character they needed. So they created out of him a kind of a hero. So the story came to me through the producer, because Switzerland was waiting for this movie since many years, and he asked me if I'm interested to direct it, and I said of course, because it was also a childhood hero of mine, Walter Sturm. And but then I came more and more to the other character of Barbara Hu, who was his lawyer, and who worked with him for many years. And through all the interviews I made with old colleagues of them, I figured out that there was more than a professional relationship. So there was a kind of love story. I don't know how, I think not sexual, more platonic, but there was a very strong relationship between them. And then I thought, hey, I try to focus on these two characters, not only on him. Yeah. And that's where we started working on the screenplay. Yeah.
So, since Walter Sturm, like what you said, is a very heroic, or well, let's say popular character in Switzerland, were there any attempts of making a film about him before?
Sorry, I didn't understand you now so very well.
Sorry, were there? Yeah, were there any other attempts before this film to make a film about his life as well?
I think some other production companies tried to realize it, but they always failed a little bit. And I had a bit the feeling the problem was always to make him, if you make out of Walter Sturm a main character, then you can't give him you have to give him more sympathy than maybe he belonged to, because he was not a nice guy. He was an interesting guy, but he was I also think he was kind of autistic too. He was not really able to have strong feeling, even not to his mother or his father anywhere. And I think they failed a little bit on the problem that to tell just his story, it's not even an anti-hero. It's not really gives you enough empathy you need to follow a main character. I think they failed on this, but many production companies tried it before.
And this is also, I mean, your film give us a look or give us an insight about Switzerland that many of us who live outside Switzerland never know before. We always associate Switzerland with, with peace, with perfection, harmony. So would you say that what Barbara and Walter did, they helped create or perhaps overturn major changes in law reform?
Yeah, so exactly what you say, this picture from Switzerland as, just gold, chocolate, mountains, and perfect life. I mean, in a way, it fits to what happens today. Switzerland is really quite kind of nearly a crazy perfect, you can say. It's also kind of creepy a little bit, I don't live in Switzerland anymore. I live in Berlin in Germany, because it was for me kind of too perfect, this country. But we had totally different times in the early ages, before the Second World War. Switzerland was super poor country, one of the poorest countries. We were getting richer after the Second World War through other aspects we don't have to speak about. But in the 70s and 80s, a very strong left-wing generation came up, and they were quite aggressive and fighting against very hard right radicals, you can say. And so the Switzerland at this time, it was super conservative, and also they didn't treat it also human rights in a very good way. Women rights, there were nearly no women rights at all. So they really, these characters like Barbara Hoog, but not only her, a few of these really interesting characters in the 70s, 80s, they made a big change for sure. They found possibilities to help. They were fighting for female rights, the rights of poor, rights of people from other countries who tried to settle down in Switzerland, and so they really made a big change. So one of the main lawyers, Barbara Hoog, worked together, Moritz Leuenberger. He was later on, he was president of the Swiss Confederation. So you can see with him, he started as a little lawyer from the left side and ended up as president of the Swiss Confederation. So that means something. So these characters, they really moved something in Switzerland.
And what I love about the film is that this is a serious film with serious subjects and heavy storyline, and yet you manage to keep the atmosphere of the film uplifting. Like the vibe of the film is very upbeat. I like a particular scene where they tried to cross the border and Barbara had to fake seizure because Walter was caught when he was wearing fake mustache. I don't know if that scene really happened in your life, or is it one of the comical inventions for the film?
You're right. Yeah. So first to the subject of uplifting, for me it was very important that we bring this very sad, intense drama, also some lighter and humoristic elements, and that was always in the eye of the producer. I think that's also why he catch me, because I did more comedies before than dramas, so I'm more coming from the comedy side. So what belongs to this scene? No, it didn't happen like this. It was one of my ideas, but similar situation happened with Sturm, because he had about 100 different passports with 100 different faces. And he fooled the guys by the border, often in a very, sometimes also really funny way. But what we made now, we brought also Barbara Hoog in this situation, when she had her breakdown. So that was fantasy. But I think it's quite close to real moments they had, especially Walter Sturm had when at his time.
And yet somehow the scene, like what you said, fit to their story and also fit to the characters. And I would like to ask about the performances of the two leads. We happened to screen Marie, the actress of previous film, The Divine Order, and and also the lead actor Joel Bassman. The Netflix here screens Welcome Bruce Wondrous Journey, and we didn't see the trace of their previous performances, like they immerse to the roles of Barbara and Walter.
Yeah.
Did you what kind of approach that you made to these actors in these films?
We had a very, very long casting time, because in the beginning I was really looking for no names, for really actors you haven't seen before, and not for Marie Leuenberger and Joel Bassmann, which both are very well known in Switzerland, maybe most best known younger actors in Switzerland. But through these whole casting sessions we had nearly in 2 years, at the end I ended up by these two characters. Joel Bassmann has this chameleon element inside himself. Anyhow, we were looking for it. It was very difficult to find a person who you never really can catch him. Yeah, so he's always a bit like there and nowhere in the same time. He can be charming and very rude in the same time. It's not so easy to find a young actor who brings you that, even this little criminal element. I think it's also in the character of Joel. So I think with Joel, it was not such a big work like I had with Marie Leuenberger, because Marie Leuenberger, as person, is a very healthy woman. She really takes care for herself. She's very realistic, down to earth. You know, she's always on time. And Barbara Hoog don't cares for herself at all. She was a drinker. She was smoking all day long. And she was a very unhealthy character. And that's also a bit what the story is about. So with Marie, I really had a very intense time, and I often told her, hey, you're much too healthy to play this character. So I think she was doing really a lot of parties before we started shooting. Yeah, she went out hard and she worked on her voice, and even, you know, the problems she had with walking. She took a trainer extra to teach her how to walk, and so for her it was really a huge challenge to come over to this personality. And I tried just to care for her as good I can as director, to bring her really from scene to scene in a very sensitive way and explain her the emotional situation, etc. But I think as longer we were shooting, as more she was in this character, and but it was a lot of work for her, and I'm very proud in her that she really made this way, because it was also quite courageous.
So how long was it from the inception of the idea until the shooting?
From the idea to the shooting, you know, I was not there when they started. My producer, Iba Madeo, started with one of our writers about 7 years ago. And I came in about 4 years ago, and then we were totally rewrite the screenplay for another year. But you also have to know that the film is already finished now since nearly 2 years now. And we fell totally in this Corona hole. It should have been in the cinemas more than a year ago. Yeah, so normally we were on ice now. Yeah, only fast.
So has it been released in Switzerland, and especially since the characters are not yet?
No, not yet. No, we had now in the last year, we had a lot of international festivals from Moscow to Tallinn to Portugal, etc. We won a few very nice prizes on this way, but we haven't shown the film till now in Switzerland. It's very funny. So we showed it all over the world, but not in Switzerland yet. And we come out in end of November. Yeah, we really have now the cinema start in nearly all cinemas in Switzerland. So it's a quite huge start we have. So yeah. And then in Germany, a few weeks later in Germany.
I see. Well, because I saw the film the first time in Tallinn as well. I mean, virtually, of course. Yeah, and yeah. So and I was not surprised when the Best Actress prize went to sorry Marie Lundberger. She is excellent. We still have time for a few questions from the audience. The first one is from Zico. She asked whether this film is on true story or not. Of course, it is on true story. Do the characters finally were verdicted guilty or not in real life?
Once again, sorry. Again.
Do the characters finally judged guilty or not?
Oh. I mean, the characters, you mean now Walter Sturm, yeah, you know, his life ended there when he made suicide. So he was guilty for about 500 or more criminal acts. Yeah, so he would sit in prison for. He was sitting then for about 15 years in prison. Then he came out. He did other criminal crap, and then he killed himself. So I think he would sit still in prison if he would live. And for Marie Leuenberger, known for Barbara Woog, she didn't have any consequences for stuff she did. I mean, she was always, I think, on the white side of everything, and not on the dark side.
Second question is from Fanny. Hi, Mr. Oliver. When making this movie, did you have a certain artistic expectations?
To the actors?
When making this movie, did you have any expectation, especially artistic expectations from this film?
Not really, no.
All right, very firm answer. And I think the last question, I think we touch this. Hi, Mr. Oliver. How did you convince Marie and Joel to join you in this film project as a lead character? Did they have any doubt in the process whether they would be able to fulfill the roles?
Yeah, as I told before, with Marie, I had with Joel from time to time, because he was quite young to act this character. So I was looking for a bit an older guy than him, but at the end it was only him who could play it. So we had some work also with his hair and anyhow with his whole makeup. Especially then at the end when he's an older man, it was for me, I was very insecure if he can manage it without, you know, watching like Disneyland, yeah. So we were really a bit afraid if we can manage it, and even if he can act as an old man, and I think he did it fantastic. So some of my favorite scenes are scenes when he was an old man. And with Marie, as I said before, it was with her quite big challenge to come to this unhealthy character. There were also some insecurities. Meanwhile, we were shooting or preparing the film. But I think that makes it more interesting at the end. Yeah, so it's always good if you have a challenge.
And I have to give credit to your production design team, because the 70s, 70s and 80s look, they don't look fake. They don't look like a caricature background. They really look real, and they enhance the film. Were there any particular look that you want to achieve in terms of the production design?
It's fantastic that you recognize this, because you know you're so far away from the Swiss reality. So, because for me as Swiss, you know how these kind of walls were looking like, you know how these apartments looked like, etc. These details were super important for me, and you know a lot of the inside stuff we were shooting in a studio in Germany, so we had to transport all this Swiss material, Swiss tables, Swiss chairs, etc. over to Germany. to really have this original flair. But I think what made it to gold was at the end our art director, who really came out from this 70s, 80s scene, left-wing scene. So he really knew it from inside. He called me and he told me, "Hey, Oli, I have to do this film. You know, you need me because I know it so well, how it looked like, and I know the smell, you know, so well." And that's what we try to do, is bringing also smell into the set design. You know, that this kind of dirty corners and stuff. So all what we did, we tried really to get very close to these original settings they had in the early 80s or 70s.
Well, in the end, it was a fantastic film. It's a great film. So congrats once again. And I understand that you have to go back to your set right now. So thank you so much for your time, Oliver. And before we leave, let's take a picture together. And then I will allow the technical host to guide us.
We fit perfect with our shirts. Do you recognize Noble? So your shirt and mine.
A little bit. Sorry, Fina, can you guide us?
Yes. Hello, everyone. We will do the photo session. I'm the host. Please look at the camera and show your best pose and smile. I will count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Excellent. Let's do it once again. 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope we get to see you in person someday, Oliver, when this whole pandemic is over.
Excuse me again? No one?
I hope we get to see in person once the pandemic is over.
Around on the festivals and maybe at the Berlinale in February or something.
Yeah. I hope we can fly to Berlin next year.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot for everything, and Noel, I wish you a good festival.
Yeah, and I wish you smooth production, Oliver. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye. Ciao.
Bye. Ciao. And that was our conversation with Oliver. Sorry, that was our conversation with Oliver Rihs, the director of Cage Birds. Filmnya masih available dan bisa ditonton di festival Scope, dan saya harus memilih satu penanya terpilih untuk mendapatkan merchandise dari Europe on Screen. Jadi selamat kepada Nathaniel Tanugroho, akan dihubungi oleh tim Europe on Screen. So enjoy the rest of the festival ahead. We still have exciting films in coming days, and also we will have more film talks in coming days as well. I'm Noval, signing off. Goodbye.